Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Corporate Finance online classes. This is Dr. Mahesh M. Monjeri, Assistant Professor from Department of Management Studies, STM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. Okay, so dear students, now we are discussing about the second function of finance department, that is the financing decisions. In a layman's language, financing decision means simply raising capital. But it is not so simple as we say raising capital, because the finance manager has to decide an optimum capital structure. So as we know that there are different sources of financing, okay, like debt capital. It may be by way of issue of debentures or by way of borrowing loans from banks and financial institutions. So we call it debt capital, preference capital, equity capital, and retained earnings and surplus. So what should be the proportion of debt and equity in the capital structure? So that is the key decision here in financing decision. Okay, so that is what we are learning, and related to that we have learned some concept of leverage. So first we learned about the concept of excuse me, operating leverage, and yesterday I illustrated what is the meaning of operating leverage or degree of operating leverage. So today we are going to learn about the second type of leverage, that is financial leverage. Okay, students, I hope we can see the PowerPoint slides.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is Unit 5, Financing Decisions, Chapter number 18, Operating Financial and Combined Leverage. So yesterday we learned about the financing decision, what is leverage, okay, and then what is operating leverage. So we illustrated the concept of operating leverage. Yeah, that is in with the fixed costs. Okay, say with fixed operating costs, the percentage change in profits, okay, that is nothing but earnings before interest and taxes accompanying a change in volume. Volume here is sales volume is greater than the percentage change in the sales volume. Okay, so we have illustrated this concept yesterday, and today we are going to learn about the second type of leverage, that is financial leverage. So financial leverage relates to the financing activities of the firm. Okay, so please remember. So whereas operating leverage is associated with the investment activities. Operating leverage is associated with the investment activities. For example, when a company is considering investment proposals, they create estimated cash inflows and outflows. And in the estimated cash inflows, what are the fixed operating costs? Okay, so that is what they estimate, and how the presence of these fixed operating costs, okay, are related to the earnings before interest and taxes. That is, when there is a change in the operating costs year after year, okay, how it will affect the changes in earnings before interest and taxes. Whereas financial leverage is associated with the financing activities of the firm. I repeat, financial leverage relates to the financing activities of the firm. Financing activity means raising capital from different sources. The sources from which funds can be raised by the firm can be categorized into those which carry a fixed financial charge, like term loans. Okay, Tata Steel's UK division, UK is United Kingdom. Tata Steel's UK division borrowed 200 million pounds, okay, for working capital, to finance working capital. Okay, that is a term loan, and they have to pay a fixed rate of interest on the loan. So that is a fixed financial charge. Bonds, okay, so the interest rate on bonds is also fixed. Okay, and debentures, the interest rate on debentures is also fixed. The debenture holders are to be given interest on their debentures every year without fail. And preference shares, the dividend on preference shares is also fixed. Okay, so please remember, whether whatever the situation of the company, these payment of interest is obligatory to the company. If they don't pay, okay, the lender, that is the bank or debenture holder or bond holder, can sue the company. Please remember. So the sources of funds which carry a fixed financial charge like interest, okay, are one set of or one type of sources of funds. And the second sources of funds which does not involve any fixed charge like equity shares. The payment of dividend on equity shares is not mandatory by law, so it doesn't carry any fixed charge. The company may or may not pay the dividend in a particular year, and when the company decides to pay dividend, there is no fixed rate, okay, like in case of preference dividend, as well as retained earnings. So the sources from which funds can be raised by the firm can be categorized into two groups. One, they carry a fixed financial charge, and second, which does not involve any fixed charge. I hope this is quite simple and explained in a easy way. The firm is under obligation to pay interest on first type of sources of funds. First type of sources means interest on loan, interest on bonds, interest on debentures, okay, dividend to preference shareholders. We are talking about that. The firm is under obligation to pay interest on first type of sources of funds before tax. Then a tax is deducted from earnings before interest and taxes. Preference dividend is then paid from the earnings after interest and taxes. Okay, then whatever is remaining after paying dividend to preference shareholders, the equity shareholders are entitled to the remainder of the operating profit. Okay, so this is a situation what you need to remember and understand. So what is the effort of the company? Okay, the effort of the company or effort of the financial management is to maximize wealth of the shareholders. So under such a situation, how a company can maximize shareholder or how a company can maximize wealth of its equity shareholders. Okay, now dear students, you also understand. Okay, almost most of you have joined the contest STM-CT stock market challenge. Remember, you are equity shareholders, and there is something called a portfolio value based on which the ranks are given. So what is your effort, okay, to get on top? In order to do that, your equity shares should perform well in the market, or the wealth of, okay, your wealth should maximize. How it will happen? When the company takes the right decisions with respect to investment, financing, and dividend. Okay, so now you are not different from those equity shareholders. So you can, those company shares which you have purchased, okay, in the game, you visit the website of those companies, go through their history since last 10 years, what is the dividend payout ratio, whether they have paid the dividend or not, what happened to the market price. Okay, you can always study to strengthen your knowledge. Financial leverage results from the presence of fixed financial charges in the firm's income stream. The fixed financial charges means interest on loan, for example, or preference dividend, for example. Financial leverage is concerned with the effects of changes in EBIT on the earnings available to equity shareholders. When in the income stream of a company or estimated cash inflows, in the estimated cash inflows of a company, when there is a presence of fixed financial charges, means interest on debenture, for example, consider. It means the company has raised capital by way of issuing debentures, and the interest on debenture is fixed financial charge. Okay, so financial leverage is concerned with the effects of changes in EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, on the earnings available to equity shareholders. So in the presence of fixed financial charges like interest on debt, okay, a change in earnings before interest and taxes, how it will affect the change in earnings available to equity shareholders. That is what is determined through financial leverage. It is defined as ability of a firm to use fixed financial charges to magnify the effect of changes in EBIT on the earnings per share. So as I said, debt capital is cheaper than equity capital because equity capital is owner's funds. It is too risky to do business with owner's funds. But of course, owner's fund will be there to the certain extent. but debt capital is cheaper because it is someone else's money. If you lose it, that's it. Okay. So only thing, the company will liquidate your assets and take away, try to recover their loan. So your liability is limited only to that extent. So knowing that debt capital is cheaper, companies try to make use of the debt capital in their capital structure and try to magnify the effects of changes in EBIT. So when there is a presence of fixed financial charges in the estimated cash inflows, it increases the earnings before interest and taxes, and the effect on earning per share is much more than that. For example, 1% change in EBIT may lead to 2% increase in earnings per share. But it is also both ways, remember. Favorable leverage occurs when the firm earns more on the assets or purchased with the funds than their fixed cost. So let us say the company has, United King, forget about that. A company has borrowed, capital, debt capital, and whatever debt capital is borrowed, using that when the company purchases assets or invests in the project or asset should earn enough where the company should be able to repay the principal as well as the interest on the debt. In that case, the financial leverage will be favorable. Okay, so a small increase in EBIT will lead to much more bigger increase in earnings per share, thus maximizing shareholder wealth. Unfavorable leverage occurs when the firm does not earn as much as funds cost. Okay, so when a company borrows capital, by way of debt, when a company raises a debt capital and invest that capital into purchase of an asset or into an investment proposal, and if the investment proposal does not yield enough returns where the company is unable to repay the debt and the interest on debt, then we say the leverage is unfavorable. So it is important that the company's revenue should be enough to cover the fixed cost. The difference between earnings from the assets and the fixed cost on the use of funds goes to the equity shareholder. That is quite simple to understand. In a way, use of fixed interest sources of funds provides increased return on equity investment. In a way, why companies make use of debt capital? In a way, use of fixed interest sources of funds provides increased return on equity investment. That is the reason why companies use, or raise funds from debt, debentures, bonds, and so on. In a way, use of fixed interest sources of funds provides increased return on equity investment without requirement of additional funds from equity shareholders. So equity shareholders, let us say, might have invested only 40 rupees, and the company might have borrowed another 30 rupees. So 70 rupees total investment by the company will be 70 rupees. But whereas equity shareholders have invested only 40 rupees, but they will get a return on the entire investment of 70 rupees. This is how debt capital is cheaper, dear friends. So when earnings are not adequate, presence of fixed charges will imply that equity shareholders will have to bear the burden, of course. The first interest is paid on debt. Thus, the leverage will operate in the opposite direction such that the earnings per share will actually fall as a result of the use of funds carrying fixed cost. It is only when the earnings of the company are not adequate, please remember. But when the earnings of the company are adequate to cover fixed cost, the earning per share of the shareholders will be maximized. So the procedure outlined above is merely indicative of the presence or absence of the financial leverage. But how could we determine the financial leverage? So financial leverage can be more precisely expressed in terms of degree of financial leverage, which is denoted by capital DFL. And DFL can be calculated by these through equations. DFL is equal to percentage change in EPS, earnings per share. EPS is earnings per share. Percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. Alternatively, DFL, degree of financial leverage, can also be calculated by way of EBIT divided by EBIT minus I, okay, I is interest, the fixed financial charges, minus DP, DP is a preference dividend, whole divided by into bracket 1 minus T, T is taxes. Okay, so with this, okay, the theory part comes to an end, and exactly in the same way where I'm going to illustrate you the concept of financial leverage. So when the in a company's income stream or estimated cash inflows, okay, the fixed financial charges are present. It means if the company has raised capital from, okay, debt capital, okay, how it increases the earnings before interest and taxes, and a small increase in EBIT, how it will lead to a much more greater change in earnings per share. It happens in both the ways, positive as well as a negative, increase or decrease. So it is like a dual-edged sword. Okay, so any questions here, students? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so if you don't have any queries, then let me go ahead with the illustration or a
No,
simple
sir.
example. Okay, yes, thank you. Okay, students, can you see this example of financial leverage?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, a financial manager of hypothetical company limited expects that its EBIT, earnings before interest and taxes, in the current year would amount to 10,000 rupees. Okay, so this can be considered as a base EBIT. The firm has 5% bonds aggregating to 40,000 rupees. It means the company has raised capital by way of issue of bonds, and the interest rate on bond is 5%. The amount of bonds issued is 40,000 rupees, while the 10% preference shares amount to 20,000 rupees. The company has raised okay, another 20,000 rupee capital by way of issue of preference shares, and the coupon rate of preference dividend on preference shares is 10%. So this 5% interest on bonds and 10% dividend on preference shares are fixed financial charges. So what would be the earnings per share? So they asked us to find out. Then assuming the EBIT being 6,000 in case 1 and 14,000 in case 2. Okay. So how would EPS be affected in the presence of fixed financial charges? So this is how we are going to learn the effect of financial leverage. So here the base EBIT will be 10,000 rupees, 6,000 EBIT. Okay, when the EBIT decreases to 6,000 rupees, and another case where the EBIT increases to 14,000 rupees from 10,000. So how it would affect EPS? Okay, the firm can be assumed to be in 35% tax bracket. Tax rate is 35%, and the number of outstanding ordinary shares is 1,000 shares. So this is the number of shares, it is not rupees. Okay, the number of equity shares in the company are 1,000 equity shares. This is required to find out earnings per share. Okay, so with this data, let us make an attempt to understand the effect of financial leverage in the relationship between the change in EBIT and the change in earnings per share. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to prepare a table in the solution. EPS for various EBIT levels. EPS is earnings per share for various EBIT levels. The various EBIT levels are base level EBIT is 10,000 rupees. EBIT is earnings before interest and taxes. Case one, okay, case one where the EBIT increases to 14,000 rupees, and case two is where the EBIT decreases to 6,000 rupees. Okay, when the EBIT increases from 10,000 rupees to 14,000 rupees, the increase is by 40%. You can calculate and find out. It is 40%. And when the EBIT decreases from 10,000 to 6,000 rupees, okay, the decrease is also 40%. So that way it is designed. The problem is given in that way. Okay, so let us go ahead with the same method, the way we estimated cash inflows in case of unit number 2, chapter number 9. Okay, capital budgeting, like single proposal, then mutually exclusive, okay, and replacement situation, same way. So EBIT, okay, in base year is 10,000. In case 1 it is 14,000, and in case 2 it is 6,000. Okay, so what is this EBIT? So we need to arrive at earnings after taxes. We need to deduct interest first, okay, and we need to deduct taxes. So first, less interest on bonds, 5%. Okay, so as you can see here, 40,000 rupee is raised by way of issue of bonds. So 5% of 40,000 rupees is 2,000 rupees. Okay, so it is going to be same in all the three cases. So 6,000 minus 2,000 is 4,000 rupees, 10,000 minus 2,000 is 8,000 rupees, 14,000 minus 2,000 is equal to 12,000 rupees. This is EBT, earnings before taxes. So now let's charge taxes. So tax is at the rate of 35%. 35% of 4,000. Please remember, this is the taxable income. 35% of 8,000. 35% of 12,000. So 35% of 4,000 is 1,400. 35% of 8,000 is 2,800. 35% of 12,000 is 4,200. So once we deduct 4,000 minus 1,400 is equal to 2,600. 8,000 minus 2,800 is equal to 5,200. 12,000 minus 4,200 is equal to 7,800. Okay, are earnings after taxes. Okay, these are earnings after taxes. Now we have to pay dividend to preference shareholders first. Coupon rate is fixed. Okay, the preference dividend rate is 10%, and the company has raised 20,000 rupees by way of issue of preference shares. So 10% of 20,000 rupees is preference dividend is 2,000 rupees. Same in all three cases. So 2,600 minus 2,000 is 600. 5,200 minus 2,000 is 3,200. 7,800. Okay, minus 2,000 is 5,800. So therefore, okay, this amount what I just calculated is earnings available to equity shareholders in each of the three cases. Okay, earnings available to equity shareholders in each of the three cases. Okay, so how to calculate earnings per share? Okay, the information is given in the problem. The number of outstanding ordinary shares is 1,000 equity shares. So earnings available to equity shareholders are 600. If I divide it by the number of shares, what I get is earnings per share. So in this case, 600 divided by 1,000 equity shares is equal to 60 paise is the earning per share in case 2. So earnings available to equity shareholders 3,200 divided by number of equity shares, that is 1,000. So in this case, the earning per share is 3 rupee 20 paise. Here 5,800 is the earnings available to equity shareholders. So 5,800 divided by 1,000 equity shares is equal to 5 rupee 80 paise is the earnings per share in case 1. Okay, so now if you look at, okay, so from the base EBIT, at the base EBIT, okay, see this is the base EBIT, okay, at 10,000 rupees. The earning per share was 3 rupee 20 paise. And when the EBIT increased, by 40%, okay, the EPS has increased by more than 40%. That is from 3 rupee 20 paise to 5 rupee 80 paise, which is the 81.25% increase in earnings per share. Okay, that happens because of the presence of a fixed financial costs like interest on bond and preference dividend. And same way, okay, from the base EBIT 10,000 rupee, when the base EBIT decreases to 6,000 rupees, the percentage decreases 40%. Same way, at the base EBIT, the earning per share is 3.2. Okay, but the base the earning per share at base level is 3 rupee 20 paise, but whereas the earning per share in case 2 is only 60 paise. So if you find out the percentage decrease, it is 81.25% decrease, whereas the decrease in EBIT is only 40%. Okay, the decrease in EPS is much more than that, that is 81.25%. This way the financial leverage operates in both the ways. It is favorable when the company earns enough to pay the fixed financial charges. It is unfavorable when the company does not earn enough to pay the fixed financial charges like interest. So any questions here? Any questions? This interpretation is same, the just now what I explained. I don't want to repeat it again. You will get confused. What I have orally explained with the help of the table, that is written in sentences. That's it. So this is the illustration of financial leverage. How the presence of fixed financial charges magnify the changes in EBIT on changes in EPS. Yeah, anybody who is not able to understand any part of this illustration, please let me know. Is that okay, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, remember
Yes,
this,
sir.
this is not a problem for 3, 7 or 10 marks. It is the illustration. I would have gotten directly to the problems, but still concept clarity is more important. Okay, because that is what you will remember, okay, after MBA. So now we are going to calculate the degree of financial leverage with both the equations. The first equation is percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. Okay, so what you can see here, the percentage change in EPS is 81.25%. And the percentage change in EBIT was 40%. Okay, that's what we put here. The percentage change in EBIT is EPS is 81.25% divided by the percentage change in EPS is 40%. This is a favorable financial leverage 2.03. Okay, in the case 2, the EBIT has decreased by 40% and the EPS also has decreased by 81.25%. So the degree of financial leverage is same 2.03, but it is unfavorable situation. Okay, so please remember. And the alternate equation, okay, EBIT at the base level, remember EBIT at the base level, okay, divided by EBIT minus, so EBIT at base level is 10,000 rupees, okay, minus I, that is interest on bonds. Interest on bonds is 2,000 rupees, okay, minus a DP. DP is preference dividend. So preference dividend is 2,000 rupees, okay, and whole divided by into bracket 1 minus T. T is a tax rate, okay, tax rate is 35%, that is 0.35. 1 minus 0.35, that is how we are going to use it. Okay, so this is the equation. EBIT 10,000 divided by EBIT 10,000 minus I, that is interest 2,000, interest on bonds, minus a DP, that is the preference dividend 2,000 rupees, whole divided by 1 minus small t, that is 35% tax. We rewrite it as 0.35. So once you simplify the answer, what you get is 2.03, which is the degree of financial leverage. Then let me conclude. High fixed financial costs increase the financial leverage and thus financial risk. So remember, simply a manager cannot go on raising more and more from debt capital. Financial risk refers to the risk of the firm not being able to cover its fixed financial costs. Just now we learned about it. With the increase in financial charges of the firm, also required to raise the level of EBIT. Okay, to raise the level of EBIT, the company's sales revenue should be more. Remember, if the firm cannot cover its fixed financial payments like interest and preference dividend, it cannot be technically forced. It can be technically forced into liquidation. I told you, because payment of interest is mandatory by law. Okay, if the company is unable to pay the interest on debt and the repay the principal amount, the company's assets will be sold and the money will be recovered by the banks to recover the loan. That is called liquidation. And right now it is happening with respect to the assets of Mr. Vijay Mallya. Okay. To devise an appropriate capital structure, that is the proportion of debt equity ratio in the total capital structure, the amount of EBIT under various financial plans should be related to EPS. One widely used means of examining the effect of leverage is to analyze the relationship between EBIT and EPS. So it's called EBIT EPS analysis. Okay, so there will be a couple of cases again here where you have to decide among the different capital structures. It means different capital debt equity ratio capital structures. You have to choose the best capital structure which can maximize earning per share. That is a later stage. Okay, before that we'll learn how to calculate the combined leverage in next class, not today's class. Okay, if time remains, okay, I will go through it. Just let me see. Yeah, I think it's simple. It's simple. I think I will finish it and then I can go for attendance. So then let me share the PPT once again. Yeah, any questions you have, students? Any doubts or questions on financial leverage, illustration of financial leverage?
No, sir.
Yes, thank you. Okay. So now, see, simply before I go explain anything, you please understand. Okay, investors need one indicator or one figure. If you give them financial leverage, you give them operating leverage, okay, then it will be confusing. So rather, companies can give them a combined leverage. What is combined leverage? Operating leverage multiplied by financial leverage. That's it. Operating leverage into financial leverage will give you the combined leverage, a single figure, based on which the company investors can understand the risk of the firm. Okay. Combined leverage or the total risk. The operating leverage has its effects on operating risk and is measured by the percentage change in EBIT due to the percentage change in sales. Yesterday we learned it. The financial leverage has its effect on financial risk and it is measured by the percentage change in EPS due to the percentage change in EBIT. Just now we learned it. Since both these leverages are closely concerned with ascertaining the ability to cover fixed charges, if they are combined, the result is total leverage. So how to combine? Simply multiply both. And the risk associated with combined leverage is known as total risk. It will be easy for the investors to understand. So how we get the equation for combined leverage? Simply it is combined leverage is given by, denoted by DCL, degree of combined leverage, is equal to DOL, degree of operating leverage, into DFL, degree of financial leverage. So if we substitute the equations of DOL as well as DFL, so DCL is equal to percentage change in EBIT divided by percentage change in sales, into DFL, percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in EBIT. So what is common? Percentage change in EBIT here, and percentage change in EBIT here. They both get cancelled. This is again 8th, 9th, 10th mathematics, you can recall. What remains is percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in sales. So therefore, degree of combined leverage, DCL, is equal to percentage change in EPS divided by percentage change in sales. This is just in case, in order to understand how both the leverages are combined. But in calculation, it will be easy. You have to find out degree of operating leverage first. Then you have to find out degree of financial leverage. And third, simply you multiply both, you will get DCL. And that is what we are going to do next. Okay. There is one more equation here. DCL is equal to contribution divided by DOL. This is the DOL, degree of operating leverage is given by contribution divided by EBIT. Contribution is nothing but sales minus variable cost into DFL. EBIT divided by EBIT minus I. So EBIT here and EBIT here is common. They get cancelled. So therefore DCL is equal to, we get another equation, contribution, that is sales minus variable cost divided by EBIT minus I. So thus DCL measures the percentage change in EPS due to the percentage change in sales. So finally we conclude like this. Okay. So if anybody has any question, please let me know. So here there is one, this is last slide for combined leverage. If the degree of operating leverage of a firm is 6 and its financial leverage is 2.5, the combined leverage of this firm would be 6 into 2.5 is equal to 15. The degree of combined leverage of this firm is 15. It is so simple. Believe me, it is only that much, even in the problems. And that is, what does it mean? What does it mean to investors? That is, 1% change in sales would bring about 15% change in earnings per share. So please remember, while investing in the equity shares of a company, the investors are also interested to know, since last 5 years or 10 years, what have been the sales revenues of this firm. Are they year by year, are they increasing? If yes, what is the year on year percentage growth in sales? See, this information will be available, okay, in the company balance sheets or in Bombay Stock Exchange about these companies. So the combined leverage works in either direction. It will be favorable if the sales are increasing and unfavorable when the sales are decreasing. So accordingly, you should choose whether to invest in the equity shares of a particular company or not. And you have very best opportunity on your hands in the stock market game. You can consider all these points while investing equity shares in the